Good morning, students. This is Dolly Gupta, your teacher of English. As in my first video, I had discussed about the chapter The Fun They Had. Some portion of the chapter I had covered. I hope you understood and enjoyed it. Now, in the continuation of the same, I am going to explain the next para of the chapter. Please lend your ears and be concentrate. Okay, students, as we were discussing that Tommy found a book from the storeroom and it was an old book. When Margie asked about the book, then Tommy replied that it was about school. But after getting the answer from Tommy, Margie was scornful. School? What's there to write about school? I hate school. Student, scornful is to show your dislike for something or showing you think something is worthless. So Margie hated the word school, and so she said that it was there, or what was there to write about it. An entire book had been written about a school. She was actually surprised that what is something special that a book has, or an entire book has been written only about the school. Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. What is Margie's school? Margie's school is she was studying in a virtual world, so that's why she hated. Her classroom was next to her bedroom. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the country inspector. Actually, Margie's school, as I have told you, Margie's school was next to her bedroom, and Margie's teacher was a mechanical teacher. A mechanical teacher means the machine which teaches you, and not that school where we all go. Now, why did Margie hate this school? The question arises. Margie's school was a virtual classroom, I have told you. It was not a real school like we have today. So, in the future, we are thinking that the school will be the virtual classroom, there will be machine that will be teaching the children, and Margie was having the same. Margie hated this machine because it was giving her so many tests in geography. Students, I know that you all hate somewhere for giving the test. When there is a test period, you are nervous and you don't like to give. So in the same way, she was also disliking as the machine was giving her test again and again, and especially in the geography, and Margie didn't like the geography subject, which were very difficult for her, and she was performing very bad. Then finally her mother thought that there was something wrong with the machine because Margie's performance is not getting better. So she had called the county inspector to check it. County inspector, you can say a mechanic that repair the machine, or that sees that if something or is there any fault in the machine. He was a round little man with a red face and whole box of tools with dials and wires. The county inspector came to check the mechanical teacher. He was a round little man and he had a red face. He was carrying a bag that was, he was carrying a box that was full of tools with dials and wires. As you know that whenever a mechanic comes to our home for repairing anything, he has many tools in his bag. So in the same way, that county inspector was having some tools, some wires and some dials in his box. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple. Then took the teacher apart. Took the teacher means the robotic teacher. So this man opened the machine. He was there to repair the computer. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right, and after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown in the question were asked. Uh, as the county inspector as the county inspector came, once he had opened the computer, Margie wished that he would be unable to close it back because she didn't like the computer. She did not like study from this teacher. But the man was an expert, and within an hour he had repaired the computer and had closed it and made it ready to teach Margie once again. Margie gives a description of the computer. She feels that it is very huge, it is black in color, and she disliked its appearance. It has a big screen and all the lessons appear on the screen, and many questions are asked on the same screen which are difficult for Margie. That wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. Student slot is a place or a space given or time or position. As I have already told you that Margie hated this mechanical teacher the most because she had to submit her homework and test papers to it. As the mechanical teacher was giving her test again and again, so she had to solve that and she had to put that homework into a slot. She always had to write them out in a punch code they made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculate the marks in no time. Margie had to write her homework and her test papers in a particular punch code that is a computing language. She had learned the language at the age of 6, and the machine checked the papers and calculated her marks in a few seconds. Actually, the setup of the computer or the machine was at the level of the 10 years old, but as Margie was 6 years old, so she was failed to solve the question paper, and that's why her performance was not getting improved in that particular subject. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted Margie's head. He said to her mother, "It's not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick." Geared is adjusted to a particular standard or level. Just like I have already told you that Margie was only 6 years old that time, and the computer level was set up to a level of 10 years old children. So the county inspector said that Margie was getting bad marks in geography because the machine was not working properly. It was geared or it was set up to a higher level. Those things happen sometime. I have slowed it up to an average 10-year level. He said that sometimes machine malfunctioned. That is what and had happened. He had slowed it down and set it to the pace of a learner of 10 years of age. Students, the next para is actually the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory, and he patted Margie's head again. Then the county inspector, he said that Margie was learning at a good pace. Pace is used for speed. He again patted Margie's head in order to cheer her up that she was doing her best to solve the questions, as these questions were not for her level. These questions were set up for the level of 10 years old children. But Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping that they would take the teacher away altogether. Margie was thinking that when the county inspector would come, he would take the mechanical teacher with him, but he repaired the computer and he would not take anything with him. Margie was sad because she didn't want to learn. With the help of that mechanical teacher, she didn't want to study from this machine, and she wanted that the inspector should take it away, but it didn't happen, and that's why Margie was very sad. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. Blanked out is that is completely erased for some time. Then Margie was hoping that an incident happened with Tommy once his machine was broken down and the county inspector come, and he had taken the computer for 1 month. So she was thinking that the same thing would happen with her. Margie is reminded of that time when Tommy's mechanical teacher had been taken away for repair for almost 1 month, and he was enjoying his time as he didn't have any teacher that time. It had been taken away because the history sector portion of the machine that taught the history subject had been wiped out. So the mechanical teacher did not have any memory of it, and it had to be taken away for repair, and for getting it repaired it took almost 1 month. So Margie was hoping, or she was expecting, that the same case will happen with her. So she said to Tommy, why would anyone write about school? Now we know the reason for Margie's dislike for school. So when Tommy told her about the book, that this book is about school, she asked Tommy that why would anyone write about school? Student, I think that this portion covered enough for today, and in our next video we'll continue the chapter. So for today